Supercars were looking for a doctor to take on a permanent role to increase the standardisation of the medical services for supercars as we were moving internationally at that time. And then that was when I was able to find that, geez, I can combine my medical career and motorsport, my love of motorsport. So I agreed and was accepted into the role, in the inaugural role of the medical delegate for the Supercars series. So yeah, this is pretty exciting for me to be on my 15th year of doing this, going around with the family as we travel Australia and New Zealand currently. It's fantastic.
Important start this, guys. We said yesterday it's very hard to get them off the line.
It actually seems like yesterday, thinking about it. So as usual, we park behind the field, ready for the first lap.
Who can make the jump? Bright gets a good initial bite. Alex Davison makes a stormer. Slots to the inside. That's massive. Karl Reindler's launched on the grid. He was stalled on the grid and has been hit from behind.
Karl Reindler had stalled and Steve Owen ran into the back of him and that created this huge fireball. We had the front row seat to it. It was directly in front of us by about 20 metres. So my recollection of it was that it was quite amazing because the whole incident only took about 11 seconds to extinguish, but it seemed like time stood still in such an incident there.
It's Karl's moving, trying to get out of this car quickly. He's out of the car. That's good to see because that has taken a massive hit from behind. The race is red flagged.
Some of the pit crew jumped over the fence immediately with their fire extinguishers and started putting out the fire. The big concern was that Steve Owen's car was sitting in this lake of fire with his fuel tank still full of 120 litres of petrol. As I got out of my medical car, ran to the back and got my fire extinguisher and ran to the scene. And we were careful to approach from the upwind side of the fire. And then I could see in my peripheral vision was that Karl Reindler was already getting out of his car. So my focus was purely on getting Steve Owen out of his car, which is sitting in a lake of fire. So, which is what we did.
That has devastated that car. That car will be just about over and out, I'd say.
If you play it in real time, you'll see it happens so quickly and it was all over within 11 seconds. You know, I think everyone was really lucky that day. It was quite a spectacular incident, which you don't really want to see. Look, there's always positives out of a negative, and I think that one incident forced a lot of change. So the first thing you'll know is that in the current generation of supercars and the Gen 3 cars, the fuel cell was moved from behind the rear axle to in front of the rear axle, decreasing the chance of rupture of the fuel cell significantly. So that was a huge change in terms of the car. In terms of safety equipment, there weren't really huge modifications in terms of the level of fire safety for the driver. The driver already has an in-car extinguisher system. They have the fireproof protection suits. And then from the emergency response point of view, I think it just tidied up a lot of the processes in terms of fire response. We now have more than 4 fire officials following the first lap as well. There used to be 2 prior to that. And from my point of view, I've certainly increased my fire protection and make it a point to always have a fire extinguisher in my car, although that's obviously not my primary role.
You've got to commend these crews. That, you know, the fireys we see here all year, this is when they come into their own. At the moment, they are just crawling over Karl Reindler's car just to make sure.
Thankfully, all the equipment did their protective work. It's another reason why I wear fireproof equipment as well, and I'm happy to show you through some of the fire things that I have in my medical car. I'm just going to show you the medical car, which is our Ford Focus ST medical car for 2022. This is what we carry in our kit. So between my legs, I actually have a jump bag where I have all the first intervention gear that I need. And there's some things in here which are probably unexpected in terms of a medical rescue. But I always carry a fire blanket, and that's up on top of the bag, just in case there is a need for fire blankets. There is an extinguisher in the car as well. And then I have some unusual things that you may not have seen before. Some of you may be aware of the green whistle, but we've actually developed where I've put a rubber tube onto the green whistle so we can actually feed it through the driver's helmet to give them immediate pain relief if they need to. The cars all have fire suppression systems and such, but you know, I have upgraded my recent fire equipment. I wear a 3-layer fireproof suit as well as fireproof undergarment, and I also have basically a fireman's helmet with visors and all to protect myself from if I needed to rescue someone from a fire. Some of the other things that you may have seen from the training videos are things like we have a driver's slider, which in the hospital world there's a thing called a PAT slide that we use to transfer a patient across from trolleys. So I adapted that idea and we've created this carbon fibre L-shaped piece which we can put behind the driver's seat, and it just helps them slide out of the car easily. Look, I think it's really important to say that motorsport in Australia wouldn't exist without the volunteers. You know, from marshals to grandstand officials, and certainly from the medical point of view. It's been about 16 years now that we started a medical association specifically to help medical officials join motorsport. I think it's a fantastic thing. It brings you as close as you can get to the race cars and the drivers. Everyone wants the medical side to be completely bored during the day. However, we're here if need be, and you know, my kudos to them for making themselves available. The good thing is that I know that they're here because they want to be here, which is fantastic.